The galaxy was never silent. For thousands of years, great alien empires had ruled the stars. Fleets moved across the Black Sea of space. Trade, war, and politics shaped every corner of known space. Everything seemed under control. But then, something strange appeared. It was not a fleet, not a weapon, not a planet. It was a signal. The signal was fast, messy, and impossible to decode. It raced across communication lines like a wild storm. Alien scientists studied it with fear. They had seen many signals before, but this one was different. It broke rules. It ignored patterns. It carried emotion, not logic. At first, the signal was dismissed as noise, but it kept coming back. Stronger, louder, stranger. In the High Council of the Zeran Empire, the great alien leaders gathered. Their crystal towers shone under the starlight as the council spoke. "This signal is dangerous," one alien leader said. "It does not follow order. It does not respect law. It could be a new weapon." Others laughed. Perhaps it is just a primitive race. Perhaps some lost creatures are playing with machines they cannot control. But one commander, a veteran of many wars, spoke with a heavy voice. "Wildness," he said, "is more dangerous than power. A weapon you understand can be defended, but something wild you can never control." The council grew silent. The galaxy had seen many species rise and fall, but nothing like this. None of them knew the truth. The signal came from a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star, a planet called Earth, and the creatures behind that signal were humans. On Earth, humans did not know they had been discovered. They did not know that alien empires now whispered their name. Humanity was still new to the stars. Their ships were smaller, their weapons weaker, their technology younger. But they carried something the galaxy did not expect, something no alien could prepare for. Curiosity, chaos, emotion. When humans sent their first signal into deep space, they did not think about order. They did not think about rules. They filled it with songs, with voices, with dreams of reaching others. To them, it was a message of hope, but to the galaxy, it was a threat. In the shadow of a dying star, an alien scout ship waited. Its crew had one mission: find the origin of the signal. For weeks, they followed the wild noise until finally their screens lit up with strange letters. Human. The alien captain stared. "What kind of race sends their name into the galaxy?" he whispered. His second officer hissed. "Reckless ones. Fools." But deep inside, the captain felt something else. Fear. Because the signal carried not only names, but laughter, music, and anger. He felt as if 1,000 voices were shouting inside his head, each different, each alive. This is not a simple race, he thought. This is something new. Back in the galactic core, the empires argued. Some demanded war. Destroy them before they spread. Others demanded silence. They are weak. They will burn themselves out. But again, the old commander warned, weakness does not matter. A wildfire starts with one spark. And already, humans had sparked curiosity across the stars. Small alien nations, tired of the great empires, began to wonder, could these strange humans become allies? Could they bring change? The galaxy had survived on rules for too long. Order, balance, control. But humans broke rules without even trying. They acted with chaos, with heart, with dreams. The signal from Earth was not only a message, it was a warning. On Earth, a young engineer named Maya looked up at the night sky. She had worked on the very project that sent the signal. To her, it was just hope that someone was listening. She had no idea that across the galaxy, her signal had reached war councils, alien fleets, and ancient rulers. She had no idea that her small action had placed humanity's name into the center of galactic politics. The galaxy now whispered a single word: humans. Some said it with fear. Some said it with laughter. Some said it with curiosity. But none ignored it. The first part of the story of humans in the galaxy did not begin with weapons or war. It began with a signal, wild, emotional, and free. The galaxy did not yet know it, but they had just met their greatest challenge. Because humans were not the strongest, not the smartest, not the most advanced, but they were the most unpredictable. And in a galaxy built on rules, predictability was safety. Humans were something else. They were chaos. They were emotion. They were the unknown. And soon, they would become the galaxy's wild card. The galaxy waited. The signal from Earth had shaken empires, stirred fear, and planted curiosity in every corner of space. But no one truly knew what humans looked like, how they acted, or what they wanted. That mystery ended the day the first alien ship met a human vessel. It began in the dark edge of the Yath system, far from any empire's control. An alien scout ship floated quietly, its hull glowing silver against the cold stars. The crew of the ship belonged to the Varan species, tall beings with glassy eyes and smooth, pale skin. They were cautious explorers, careful and precise in every action. For weeks, they had chased a strange human signal. And now, their scanners beeped. A small vessel appeared. Old metal, rusted edges, slow engines, weak shields. "A primitive ship," said the first officer, his voice calm. "They are no threat." The captain of the Varan ship, Serac, narrowed his eyes. "Do not underestimate what we do not understand." The human ship did not notice them at first. It was busy repairing its engines, sparks flying into the void. Inside, the human crew worked with sweat and noise. Their voices carried laughter, frustration, and song, an alien mix of emotions, unlike anything the Varan had ever heard. Through the scanners, the alien crew could hear snippets of human chatter. "Come on, push harder." "Almost fixed, almost." "Anyone got more coffee?" The Varan officers looked confused. "Are they singing?" one whispered. "They act as if space is a playground, not a battlefield." But then, something happened. A storm of meteors suddenly swept across the system. Shards of rock raced toward both ships. The Varan vessel had strong shields. But the human ship? It was fragile. A direct hit could destroy it. The Varan captain hesitated. He had no orders to protect unknown species. In fact, the Council would prefer these wild humans destroyed before they spread further. But before Serac could decide, the human ship moved. Instead of running, the humans turned their vessel into the path of the largest meteor. They fired their tiny weapons, blasting it apart piece by piece. Their small ship shook violently under the impact, but their sacrifice gave the Varan vessel enough time to dodge safely. The alien crew gasped. "They protected us." Serac's eyes widened. "They risked death for strangers." The meteors passed. Silence returned. The human ship floated damaged, smoke rising from its hull. The Varan captain opened communication. For the first time in history, a human voice reached alien ears. "This is Captain Elias Carter of the Starship Horizon. If anyone is out there, hello, we mean no harm." The human's voice was steady but warm. It carried something the Varan could not understand. "Hope?" Serac replied slowly. "This is Captain Serac of the Varan Explorers. You risked your vessel to shield ours." "Why?" Carter laughed softly, even though his ship was broken. "Because no one should die alone in the dark." The alien crew froze. No empire, no council, no fleet had ever spoken such words. To fight for allies was logical. To fight for resources was expected. But to fight for strangers? That was madness. Madness, or something greater. News of this first encounter spread like fire across the galaxy. Some empires laughed. Foolish humans, they risked themselves for nothing. Others frowned. Dangerous. If they fight like this for strangers, what will they do for their own? But for the smaller nations, for the oppressed colonies living under empire rule, the story of humans gave hope. A race that fought not for power, but for one another. A race that might stand beside them, not above them. On the Varan ship, Captain Serac stood by the viewing window, staring at the fragile human vessel drifting beside his own. "They are reckless," his first officer muttered. "They are fools," another hissed. But Serac shook his head. "No, they are something the galaxy has forgotten. They are alive in ways we are not, and that makes them dangerous." On the human ship, Captain Carter patched the hull with his tired crew. They did not know they had just changed history. They only knew that somewhere out there they were no longer alone. Elias Carter looked out into the endless night and whispered, "If someone's listening, We'll show them what it means to be human." And across the stars, those words echoed louder than any weapon. The galaxy now understood humans were not weak. They were unpredictable. They were emotional. They were willing to fight for others, even strangers. And that made them terrifying. The first meeting had ended in peace, but it left every empire with the same question. If humans would risk their lives for strangers, what else were they capable of? No one knew the answer. Not yet, but soon the galaxy would learn, because this was only the beginning. The humans had stepped into the stars, and the stars would never be the same again. The galaxy had seen wars before. Empires clashed for power. Fleets fought for control. Battles were decided by numbers, by strategies, by logic. But the day humans joined the battle, everything changed. It began in the Yelfer sector, where two great alien empires, the Zerin and the Dravari, faced each other. Their fleets stretched across space like endless shadows. Energy cannons glowed. Shields hummed. Every movement was calculated, every strike planned. Both sides prepared for war, but neither side expected the humans. A small human fleet arrived at the edge of the battlefield. Their ships were smaller, weaker, and badly designed compared to the giant of the galaxy. Some alien commanders laughed. Are these the ones who sent the signal? They look like toys. But others frowned. Be careful. Their kind is reckless. The humans did not announce themselves. They did not wait for permission. Instead, they did something no one expected. They rushed straight into the middle of the battle. Chaos exploded. The Zerin and Dravari commanders shouted in confusion. Who are they fighting for? Why are they here? Are they insane? The answer was simple. Humans fought for survival. They had no empire to defend, no grand strategy to follow. They fought because danger was in front of them, and they refused to bow. Human ships darted between the massive alien cruisers. Instead of holding formation, they broke apart, each ship moving wildly like predators in a hunt. Some spun through enemy fire. Others turned their own damaged ships into weapons, ramming them into larger vessels. An alien general gasped. They do not fight to win. They fight to break the rules. And that was true. While alien fleets relied on order, humans relied on chaos. They created confusion, forcing empires to turn their guns on each other. In the madness, the Zerin and Dravari line collapsed. One moment burned itself into galactic history. A human captain named Aria Solas commanded the small ship Tempest. Her ship was cornered by 3 Dravari warships. Any logical commander would have surrendered or fled. But Aria smiled. She turned off her shields. She shut down her engines. To the Dravari, it looked like she had given up. The warships moved closer. That was when Aria spoke softly. Fire everything. Her ship unleashed all its weapons at once. Missiles, lasers, even escape pods filled with explosives. The Tempest was torn apart, but it dragged the 3 warships into fire with it. Alien officers watching the battle sat in silence. She sacrificed herself, one whispered. No, she chose to. For victory. When the dust settled, both the Zerin and the Dravari were forced to retreat. Not because the humans were stronger, but because the humans had broken their plans. Their perfect strategies meant nothing against chaos. The galaxy had never seen a species fight like this. In the aftermath, the empires gathered in secret councils. They are too dangerous, one leader said. Their ships are weak, but their will is strong. Another replied, they are not soldiers. They are storms. How do you fight a storm? And the old commander, the one who had warned them before, spoke again. This is what I feared. You cannot predict them. You cannot control them. They are not just another race. They are the wild card. Back on Earth, news of the battle reached the people. The humans mourned their dead, but they also celebrated. For the first time, they had stood against the giants of the galaxy and survived. Families cried for their lost loved ones. Children lit candles in memory of the fallen. But in every tear, there was also pride. Humanity now knew they could not only explore the stars, they could fight in them. In the Verin homeworld, Captain Serac of the explorers heard of the human victory. He remembered the fragile ship that once saved his own. He whispered to himself, they are reckless, they are emotional, but perhaps that is their strength. The galaxy now whispered louder. Humans do not fight for empires. They fight for survival. They fight with heart. They fight like no other. And with every whisper, fear grew, because the humans had proven a truth that no one wanted to admit. Logic could be defeated by chaos, and order could be broken by will. In the silence of space, among the wrecks of human and alien ships, a message remained. A message written not in words, but in action. Humans do not play by the rules of the galaxy. They make their own, and that made them something no empire could predict, something no empire could control. They were the wild card. The galaxy thought it understood war. It thought it understood strength. But what it did not understand was emotion. The Zerrin and the Dravari still whispered about the battle in the Yelfer sector. They had seen humans fight like storms, reckless and wild. But the real shock came after the battle. While empires counted their losses in numbers and ships, humans counted their losses in names and faces. On Earth, families held pictures of the fallen. In colonies, candles burned for days in memory of the dead. Children drew stars on walls and whispered, "They will never be forgotten." Aliens did not understand this. To them, soldiers were resources. Ships were tools. Loss was simple, replace and move on. But to humans, every loss carried weight. Every tear carried meaning. In the Veran homeworld, Captain Serac watched a human transmission. It showed a funeral. A single human child placed a flower on a coffin and whispered, "Thank you for protecting us." Serac's crew stayed in silence. "Why do they show weakness?" one asked. "They should hide their pain," another muttered. But Serac shook his head. "No, this is not weakness. This is something stronger." Meanwhile, in the Zaya Council, leaders studied reports of human behavior. "They cry," one said. "They laugh even in battle. They cling to each other as if their lives have value beyond duty." Another frowned. "Emotions should make them weak. Why do they not break?" The scientist spoke quietly, "Because their emotions give them strength." The room fell silent. None could argue. The next test came when a Dravari cruiser attacked a small colony world. The humans defended not with numbers, but with unity. Farmers, engineers, even children helped in evacuation efforts. An alien observer later reported, "I saw humans bleeding, yet still smiling. I saw them terrified, yet still fighting. I saw a woman hold her dying friend's hand and whisper, 'You are not alone.' And somehow that gave her the strength to rise again." The observer trembled as he spoke. "I do not understand them. Pain makes us weaker, but pain makes them stronger." One story spread across the galaxy. A human child named Lyra had been trapped under rubble after the attack. An alien commander, cold and logical, ordered his forces a retreat, calling the child's life irrelevant. But a human soldier refused. He dug through fire and stone, carrying the child out with burned hands. He cried as he held her, whispering, "You're safe now. I've got you." That image, a soldier crying for a child, spread faster than any weapon. Across the stars, even hardened alien rulers paused. Something inside them stayed. Something they thought they had lost long ago. On a distant moon, a scientist of the cold-blooded Verac species stared at the image. His kind had abandoned emotion centuries ago. But as he watched the human soldier's tears, he felt a strange ache in his chest. He whispered, "Perhaps we were wrong. Perhaps strength is not the absence of emotion, but the presence of it." Back on Earth, humans did not see themselves as powerful. They saw themselves as survivors. They laughed to keep fear away. They cried to heal wounds. They held each other because they refused to be alone in the dark. The galaxy watched, confused, frightened, and inspired. In the Dravari Empire, a war council gathered. "They are dangerous," one general growled. "They fight with madness." Another shook his head. "No, they fight with love. And that is worse, because you cannot kill love with guns." The room fell silent. For the first time in centuries, hardened generals felt uncertainty. Captain Serac of the Veran explorers returned to his ship after months of study. He stood before his crew and said, "The humans are not strong in body. They are not advanced in technology, but their emotions make them unstoppable. They fight because they care. They survive because they believe. And that is their edge. The galaxy began to whisper a new truth. They are not the strongest, they are not the smartest, but they are the ones who will never give up. On a quiet night, Maya, the young human engineer who once helped send the first signal into space, looked up at the stars. She had no idea her voice and her people's tears had changed the galaxy. She whispered softly, "If anyone out there is listening, this is who we are. We feel, we fight, we love, and we will never stop." Her words traveled into the dark, carried on the same wild signal that once started everything. And now, the galaxy understood. Humans were not weak. Humans were not broken. Humans were alive. And that made them dangerous. That made them the wild card. The galaxy stood on the edge of war. The great empires, the Zerin, the Dravari, and their rivals, prepared their fleets. Planets armed themselves. Armies gathered. Everyone feared the same question. Whose side will the humans choose? Aliens waited for the answer. Some hoped humans would be allies. Others feared they would become enemies. But no one imagined the truth. Humans would not stand on any side but their own. In the High Council of the Zerin Empire, leaders argued. They must join us. With their chaos and bravery, they could break the Dravari. Another slammed his hand on the table. No, they must be destroyed before they spread further. The old commander spoke once more. You are both wrong. You cannot control humans. You cannot destroy them either. They are something else, something the galaxy has never seen. Meanwhile, on Earth, humans debated too. Politicians, soldiers, and ordinary people filled crowded halls. Some said, "We must ally with the strongest empire." Others cried, "No, we must remain free." In the end, one voice rose above the noise. A young woman, Maya, the same engineer who once helped send the first signal, stood before the people. She said, "We are not tools. We are not slaves. We will not bow to empires. We fight for ourselves, for our freedom, and for anyone who dreams of the same." Her words spread across Earth, then across human colonies, and finally across the galaxy. When the war began, everyone waited to see the humans move. The Zerin and Dravari fleets clashed once more, filling the void with fire. As both sides struggled, human ships appeared at the edges of the battlefield. At first, it looked like they would join one side. Then, they turned their guns on both. The humans attacked everyone. Alien generals shouted in panic. Who are they fighting for? Are they mad? They will be crushed. But the humans fought not to win territory, not to rule the galaxy. They fought to break chains, to keep themselves free. Their ships darted through the chaos, striking where no one expected. They destroyed supply lines. They freed prisoners. They turned battles into confusion. And when empires tried to predict their moves, humans change again, never fighting the same way twice. One story became legend. A small human fleet found itself trapped between two massive armadas. Any logical commander would have surrendered. Instead, the human captain ordered all ships to scatter in different directions, each using desperate tricks, decoys, false signals, even turning escape pods into bombs. The armadas chased in anger, wasting fuel, breaking formation. By the time they realized the trick, the humans were gone, leaving the two great fleets to crash into each other. The battle ended not with victory, but with humiliation for both empires. After that, even the most arrogant alien rulers admitted the truth. You cannot predict humans. You cannot control them. They are the galaxy's wild card. But humans were not just feared. They were also admired. In broken colonies where small species suffered under empire rule, whispers spread. The humans fight for freedom, not power. They fight for strangers. They fight because they care. Hope began to rise in places where there had only been despair. For the first time in centuries, empires trembled not because of another empire, but because of something smaller, stranger, wilder. Captain Serac of the Veran explorers, who had once been saved by humans, watched the war unfold. His eyes shone with respect. They are not gods. They are not demons. They are only human, he said softly. And that is enough to change everything. In the end, the war did not end with one empire victorious. It ended in exhaustion. Fleets were shattered. Armies were broken. But through it all, humans stood, not as rulers, not as conquerors, but as survivors. When peace finally came, a new phrase spread across the galaxy: never bet against humans. Because humans were not the strongest, not the smartest, not the oldest, but they were the ones no one could predict. They were the spark in the dark, the storm that broke order, the heart that refused to stop beating. On Earth, Maya looked up at the stars once more. She thought of all who had been lost and all who had been saved. She whispered, "We are human. We are flawed. We are wild. And that is our strength." Her word became legend, carried from star to star, repeated in 1,000 languages. And so, the galaxy finally understood. Humans were not just another species. They were the wild card, the peace no one could predict, the force no one could control. And in a galaxy built on order and rules, that made them unstoppable.